Captain John Hale stepped from the starship onto the smooth marble of Verelia's royal landing platform. The sky above was a soft lavender, streaked with pale gold clouds that moved like drifting silk. Tall towers of white crystal rose around him, reflecting the light of Verelia's twin suns. John took a deep breath. He felt both awe and a gentle thrill. He had never seen a place so strange and beautiful. A silver ramp unfolded before him, leading into the palace's grand hall. Its doors were carved with scenes of ancient heroes and glowing constellations. 2 Virilian guards bowed as John passed. They wore polished armor that shone like moonlight on water. John gave a polite nod and unhooked his communicator at his belt. He turned it off. Here, he would rely on his voice and his heart. Inside, the hall was vast. Smooth pillars curved toward a high domed ceiling. Humming lights floated at the top, casting a soft glow on rows of onlookers. Courtiers and diplomats from many worlds stood to either side, their faces anxious but curious. John felt their eyes on him. He stood tall and calm, breathing evenly. He knew his mission: to speak for Earth and to learn the ways of Verelia. At the far end of the hall, raised on a dais of white stone, sat Queen Sorella and her daughter, Princess Alara. The queen's silver gown trailed behind her, and she watched John with cool, steady eyes. The princess, however, leaned forward in her seat, her violet hair falling around her shoulders like a waterfall of light. Alara's eyes glowed with excitement. John bowed respectfully before the throne. His boots echoed softly on the marble as he lowered his head. The hall fell silent. Then Queen Sorella spoke in a gentle voice that still carried power. "Captain John Hale of Earth," she said, "we welcome you to Verelia. You may rise." John lifted his head and straightened. He met the queen's gaze, then shifted his attention to the princess. Alara stood so quickly that her seat scraped softly against the floor. She moved down the steps in a single graceful glide. When she reached him, John was struck by her bright smile and hopeful eyes. Without hesitation, the princess raised her hand, palm up, and asked in clear, ringing tones, "Wait, so you are taking me as your life partner, human?" Her words echoed through the hall. A ripple of gasps spread among the courtiers. John blinked in surprise. He had prepared to discuss trade agreements and cultural exchange, not promises of lifelong bonds. He felt his cheeks warm, though he tried to keep his expression calm. Princess Alara's smile never wavered. She tilted her head, curious and eager. "You came all this way," she added softly. "Does that mean we share our lives now?" Her question held no fear, only joy and hope. For a moment, John stood stunned. The silence stretched. Then he remembered why he had come: to build bridges between worlds. He straightened his shoulders and looked into Alara's bright eyes. He would answer her question carefully, but he would not stand silent. The royal court waited, breath held, as 2 very different worlds stood before each other, on the brink of a new and unexpected promise. The grand hall buzzed like a hive of excited bees. Princess Alara's bold question hung in the air, and everyone seemed to hold their breath. Captain John Hale stood tall, but inside his mind raced. He had never faced such a surprise at a diplomatic meeting. Across the hall, noble lords and ladies from Verelia leaned toward each other, whispering. Their polished voices carried words like impossible, scandalous, and royal promise. John heard his own name mixed with phrases of wonder and doubt. Yet he held his ground, his posture steady. Queen Sorella watched with calm eyes. She made no move to interrupt. She had raised her daughter to honor Virilian traditions, but she also respected the courage of new ideas. Her silver hair framed her face like a halo as she waited for John's reply. John glanced up at the carved ceiling, where floating lights drifted like silent stars. He took a steady breath, recalling his training. He was here to represent Earth, and Earth's way of forming bonds was simple. 2 people chose each other freely. He shifted his weight, ready to speak. Then suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the hushed murmurs. Lord Miren, a tall man with a stern face, stepped forward. His dark robes trailed the marble floor as he approached John. "Your Highness," he said to Princess Alara, "surely this is a misunderstanding. A sworn life partner must be chosen with careful ceremony and council approval." Alara's violet eyes flashed with determination. She lifted her chin and turned to Lord Miren. "I know our customs," she said, voice clear. "But my heart speaks for me. Captain John has won my trust in moments. I choose him." A new wave of whispers swept the hall. Some nobles frowned, but others looked at Alara with admiration. John felt a surge of respect for the princess's strength. She had risked royal favor to follow her own feelings. John took a small step forward. His voice was calm but firm. "Princess Alara," he said, "I honor your words. But on Earth, promises like this grow stronger with time and understanding. Let us learn about each other first. Only then can we speak of life partners." Silence fell again. Alara's face shone with relief. She nodded eagerly. "I am willing," she said. "Show me your world's ways, human. I will wait and learn." The courtiers exchanged more whispers. Some nodded in approval. Others still looked unsure. Queen Sorella's expression softened. She rose from her seat and descended the dais in slow, graceful steps. The guards shifted their spears, but made no move to stop her. When the queen reached her daughter and the captain, she placed a hand on each of their shoulders. Her voice was soft, but carried across the hall. "Then it shall be so," she declared. "Captain John will remain at court to learn our customs. Princess Alara will guide him. Together, they will decide if their bond can become a true promise." A gentle cheer rose from the crowd. John felt a warm glow in his chest. He bowed deeply to the queen and then to the princess. Alara curtsied, a rare honor for a foreign guest. As John straightened, he caught Alara's eye. She gave him a bright, encouraging smile. He knew the journey ahead would be difficult. But in that moment, he felt hope. Two worlds had taken their first step toward unity, led by a promise of friendship and mutual respect. That evening, the palace gardens glowed under soft lantern light. Tall hedges trimmed into elegant shapes lined winding paths. Strange flowers with silver petals released gentle scents into the warm air. Captain John Hale walked beside Princess Alara on a pebble path. He carried a small datapad showing images of Earth, green forests, blue oceans, and tiny smiling faces. Alara's violet eyes shone with curiosity. She studied each picture closely. "On Earth," John said, pointing to a family gathered at a table, "people share meals with their loved ones. They talk, laugh, and learn about each other's dreams." He tapped the screen, and the image changed to a group of friends helping a child. They help those in need. That is how trust grows. Princess Alara nodded slowly. She let the cool night breeze lift a strand of her hair. "On Virelia," she said, "we form life bonds through a ritual of shared promises and the trial of hearts. Two strangers must prove their worth." She looked at John. "Your way seems gentle." John smiled. "We believe that gentle words build stronger bonds than tests of strength," he explained. "We choose our partners by spending time together. We learn each other's fears, hopes, and stories." Alara's smile grew. "Will you tell me about your fears and hopes?" she asked. John paused and looked at the twin moons rising above the garden. "I fear we may harm each other by mistake," he admitted. "Earth has made mistakes in the past, wars and conflicts that hurt many beings. I hope that we can learn peace, not only with each other but across all worlds." Princess Alara's expression softened. She reached out and touched his arm gently. "Your honesty is brave, Captain," she said. "On Virelia, we have seen alliances torn by secrets. Truth is our greatest strength." They walked under an arch of glowing vines, and John showed her another image. "Children planting trees on Earth. We also care for our planet," he said. "We face dangers like storms and fires. But together, We work to heal the land. Alara's eyes sparkled. On Virelia, we guard our world's crystal heart. We believe every soul must protect life. She paused. Your people's kindness reminds me of our elders. John felt warmth in his chest. He and Alara stopped beside a fountain that sang soft, musical notes as water spilled over carved stones. The princess turned to him. Teach me more of Earth's kindness, she said. I will teach you our Virelian ways. John bowed his head with respect. I will, he promised. Tomorrow, I will join your people in their morning meditation by the sacred springs. I want to understand your spirit. Alara clasped her hands in delight. I will guide you, she said. We will share stories at sunrise, and then you will see why Virelia stands for harmony. As they left the garden, John felt hope bloom like the silver flowers around them. Two worlds walked side by side, learning from one another. In simple words and shared dreams, they built the first stones of a promise that might one day become a life bond strong enough to unite their peoples forever. At dawn, mist curled through the palace grounds like pale smoke. Captain John Hale made his way through dewy grass, following Princess Alara's graceful steps. She led him toward the eastern gardens, where Virelian nobles practiced morning rituals. Lanterns hung from curved branches, and soft chants rose on the air. John felt calm until a sudden noise echoed beyond the hedges, a sharp crack, like branches breaking under heavy boots. He froze. Alara noticed too. Her violet eyes narrowed. She raised a slender hand, signaling John to stay low. They slipped behind a tall hedge. Through the leaves, John saw two cloaked figures creeping toward the meditation circle. Their hoods hid their faces. One carried a small glowing device. The other had a vial of pale liquid. Alara whispered, "Enemies of the crown." She pulled John back along a hidden path. "They plan to poison the water of the sacred springs," she said. "If they succeed, they will disgrace my family and end your chance for peace." John's heart pounded. He gripped the princess's wrist. "We must stop them," he said quietly. Alara nodded. They hurried to a side entrance of the meditation grounds. The guards there were unaware of the threat. John tapped his communicator twice, but the device stayed off. He would fight this battle old-fashioned way. Princess Alara stepped into view and called out, "Halt!" The cloaked figures froze. One of them gasped, stumbling as if caught in their tracks. The guards turned, hands on gleaming spears. John emerged behind Alara. He spoke in clear, firm tones. "Stop this at once." His voice carried an edge learned in battlefield commands. The cloaked figure with the glowing device lifted it toward Alara. John reacted swiftly. He lunged forward, grabbing the device and pulling it away. The other figure splashed the vial, but Alara moved with lightning speed. She knocked the vial from their hand. It shattered on the stone ground, the liquid seeping harmlessly into the cracks. The guards rushed forward, seizing the intruders. Alara signaled to them in Virelian. "Take them to the dungeons. They will answer to the council." John held the device, inspecting it. It pulsed with a dim light. He handed it to a guard. "This bomb was meant to destroy our peace," he said, "but truth and courage stand stronger." Alara placed her hand on John's arm. "You saved more than my life," she said softly. "You saved our hope." John nodded, breathing hard but steady. He looked at the broken vial and then at the hidden path they used. "There may be more," he warned. "Those who hate peace will keep trying." Alara squared her shoulders. "Then we will stand together," she declared. "Your strength and my knowledge will protect Virelia's future." They walked back to the meditation circle, where shaken nobles and guards waited. Alara raised her voice, speaking of courage and unity. John stood beside her, silent support in his calm posture. The nobles saw a human standing not as a visitor, but as a true ally. As the sun climbed higher, Alara led the group in a vow to guard peace with open hearts and watchful eyes. John felt pride and resolve settle in him. Hidden dangers would come again, but together, He and the princess would face them. In every word and action, they built a promise forged in trust and bravery, one step closer to a bond that could unite two worlds forever. That night, the palace buzzed with urgent whispers. The attempted poisoning had shaken everyone's trust. Princess Alara paced her private chamber, her violet gown flowing behind her as she moved. Captain John Hale stood by the window, gazing at the twin moons glimmering above the palace spires. He felt restless, imagining more threats hidden in the shadows. Alara paused by a carved wooden desk. She picked up a small golden key and pressed it into John's hand. "Our enemies will search every hall and corridor," she said softly. "We must reach the ancient gate before dawn. There we can send a warning to the outer worlds." John looked at the key. Its teeth were shaped like tiny stars. "Lead the way," he said. "I'll follow." They slipped out of the room through a hidden door behind a bookshelf. Beyond it lay a narrow corridor lit by pale lanterns. John moved quietly, remembering every footstep. Alara's soft voice guided him through twists and turns, past guard posts where two soldiers dozed on their feet. At the end of the hall, they reached a heavy metal door. Alara used the golden key. The lock clicked, and the door swung open on silent hinges. Beyond lay an ancient staircase carved from dark stone, winding downward into the earth. John took a steady breath. "How far does this lead?" he whispered. Alara smiled, her eyes bright with resolve. "To freedom," she replied. "To the old gate made by our ancestors. Few know its path." They descended. The air grew cool and damp. Water dripped from above, echoing through the quiet steps. John held his sidearm ready, though he hoped it would not be needed. Suddenly, distant shouts rose above them. "Stop them!" cried a guard's voice. Torchlight flickered at the top of the stairs. John and Alara shared a glance. "Faster," she urged. "They must not catch us." They hurried down, John clearing fallen stones from the path, Alara guiding his steps. At the bottom, they found a stone corridor leading to a large iron gate carved with ancient symbols. Alara placed her hand on the gate's cool surface and whispered words in her native tongue. The symbols glowed faintly, and the gate swung open. Fresh night air swept in, carrying the scent of pine and distant rain. John and Alara stepped out into the moonlit grove. Towering trees arched above them, their leaves whispering secrets in the breeze. Alara held John's arm. "This grove lies beyond the palace walls. From here, messengers can ride to every planet." John nodded, feeling the weight of their mission settle on his shoulders. "Then let us send the call," he said. Alara reached into a satchel and pulled out a small spherical beacon. She activated it, and it glowed with a soft blue light. "This will carry our message across the stars," she explained. "It asks our allies for aid and warns them of the traitors within." John helped her place the beacon atop a stone pedestal at the grove's center. Alara pressed a button, and the beacon hummed. A beam of light shot upward, splitting the night sky like a silent trumpet. Behind them, approaching guard torches flickered at the edge of the grove. Alara squeezed John's hand. "We cannot linger," she said. John lifted his communicator. "I'll call our ship," he whispered. "We leave in minutes." Alara nodded. Together, they raced back toward the palace, their footsteps silent on the forest floor. In that moment, John felt connected to the princess's world and his own. They escaped danger with courage and trust. The bond between them grew stronger, forged in secret passages and moonlit groves. And as dawn neared, they carried their warning, hope's first light, into the waiting sky. At first light, the sky above Virilia burned with soft pink and gold. Captain John Hale stood on the palace balcony, watching as two swift couriers took off on winged craft. They carried the beacon's warning to distant allies. Princess Alara joined him, her violet hair catching the new sun. She wrapped her arms around John's waist, relief and pride shining in her eyes. John smiled down at the distant figures. "They will reach our friends soon," he said. "Help is on the way." Alara nodded, then guided John back inside. They passed through a corridor where courtiers bowed low in respect. Word of their midnight escape and beacon launch had spread already. Whispers of hope followed them like soft echoes. They entered a practice hall where Virillian warriors trained with glowing swords. Alara led John to a low bench beside the training ground. "Today you will learn our combat dance," she told him with a playful grin. "It is part of our bond ritual." John's eyes widened. He had studied Virillian culture, but physical trials were new to him. He stood and flexed his fingers around the datapad. "I am ready," he said. A tall warrior named Sarah approached. She wore light armor and held 2 curved blades. "Princess Alara will guide you," she said, bowing to John. "Follow her lead." Alara took a blade in each hand. She moved with fluid grace, feet gliding across the polished floor. John watched her posture, the soft swing of her arms, and the gentle lift of her chin. Then she offered him a blade. "Hold it like this," she instructed, showing him how to position his hands. John imitated her stance. His blade felt heavy but solid. Alara stepped back and nodded. "Now, mirror my moves." She began a slow sequence. Thrust, parry, spin. John followed, focusing on her form and breathing. At first, his steps were clumsy. He stumbled over his own feet. Alara paused and gently corrected his grip. "Relax your shoulders," she reminded. "Feel the flow." John exhaled, loosening his arms. He tried again. This time, his blade moved more smoothly. Alara's smile encouraged him. They practiced for many cycles, their blades slicing through air in soft whooshes. As they moved, Alara spoke quietly about trust. "In this dance, we learn each other's rhythm," she said. "We protect each other's back. We grow together." John nodded, keeping his eyes on her. With each mirrored move, he felt their bond deepen. He trusted her instructions without doubt. She trusted him to follow her lead. When the sun climbed high, Alara ended the practice with a final spin. John lowered his blades and bowed. Alara curtsied, her gown swirling around her. The other warriors applauded softly. John sheathed the blades. "Thank you," he said earnestly. "I feel closer to your people now." Alara clasped his hand. "And I to yours," she replied. "Our worlds will dance together in peace." They walked from the hall side by side, their steps in harmony. Outside, the palace gates opened as allies arrived, small craft sparkling against the sky. John and Alara watched, hope shining in their hearts. Their bond had taken another step forward, tied by trust, practice, and shared purpose, as 2 worlds learned to move as one. In the throne room, sunlight streamed through tall windows, casting rainbow patterns on the polished floor. Captain John Hale and Princess Alara stood before the High Council of Virilia, a circle of 12 elders in robes of deep blue and silver. The air was tense. Courtiers and guards filled the room, watching in silence. Queen Sorella, seated at the head of the circle, spoke first. Her voice was calm but firm. "Captain John, Princess Alara has asked that you join our bond. Before we bless this union, the council must hear your words." She gestured to John with a graceful hand. John stepped forward. He felt the weight of many eyes upon him, but he breathed steadily. He remembered his promise, honesty and respect. He bowed deeply to the queen, then rose to face the elders. "Honorable council," he began, voice clear, "I stand here with respect for Virilia and its people. I came to learn your ways and share Earth's culture. Princess Alara and I have walked together through danger and discovery. I wish to honor her trust." An elder named Hyros, his beard white and long, leaned forward. "Earth customs allow free choice," he said, "but a royal bond carries great responsibility. How will you protect Virilia and its people?" John nodded. "I will learn from your warriors, from your laws, and from the princess's wisdom. I have fought beside her and obeyed her lead. I will stand by her side in peace and in war." He paused. "I also bring Earth's promise of unity. My people believe in friendship across worlds. Murmurs rose among the council. Another elder, Lady Saren, asked, "What of your own world's dangers? Can Virelia trust that Earth will not break its promise?" John held the council's gaze. "We have made mistakes," he admitted, "but we learn and change. I speak for Earth's desire to stand with Virelia, not against it. Our future together can be stronger than our past errors." Princess Alara stepped forward, her violet eyes bright. "Council, I have seen Captain John's honor. He saved my life, defended our peace, and learned our ways. I choose him with full heart." Her voice rang clear and confident. Queen Sorella looked at Alara with pride, then back to John. "Is your promise as true as your words?" the queen asked softly. John knelt on one knee. "By my honor and by the hopes of Earth, my promise is true." He rose and met Alara's gaze. The council was silent. Then Elder Tyros tapped his staff on the floor. "So be it," he declared. "We accept Captain John as Princess Alara's bond-brother." The other elders nodded, and Lady Saren spoke last. "Let the bond be forged in ceremony at sunset." A gentle cheer rose in the throne room. Guards lowered their spears, and courtiers bowed in respect. Alara smiled and offered John her hand. He took it, feeling warmth spread through him. Queen Sorella rose and spoke above the celebration. "Tonight, at the sunset ceremony, two worlds will take a new step toward unity. May your bond guide both Earth and Virelia to peace." John and Alara bowed together. As they left the throne room, walkers parted for them. John's heart beat with pride. He had faced the council and won its trust. Their bond moved closer to reality. In simple words and honest deeds, they built a bridge between worlds, one that would stand against any storm. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, the palace courtyard filled with lantern light. Guests from Earth and Virelia gathered for the sunset ceremony. The air smelled of jasmine and spiced wine. Captain John Hale wore a simple white tunic gifted by Princess Alara. The Queen's guards stood at attention, their armor glowing faintly in the dusk. Princess Alara approached John, carrying two ceremonial blades carved from crystal. She held one out to him. "These symbolize our bond," she explained softly. "We fight for each other and stand as one." John took the blade with care. Its surface felt cool and smooth. He bowed deeply. "I accept this honor," he promised. Alara bowed in return and touched her blade's tip to John's. A gentle hum rose as the crystals connected. Light pulsed along their edges. The crowd watched in awe, hushed by the moment's power. Suddenly, a trumpet blast echoed from the palace gates. A squad of armored soldiers charged forward, led by Lord Miren, the same noble who had questioned their bond. His eyes burned with anger. "Stop this madness," Lord Miren shouted. He raised a blade of his own. "Virelia will not be ruled by an alien." A murmur of fear swept the guests. John's heart pounded. He looked to Alara, who met his gaze with fierce determination. Together, they stepped forward, blades raised. John's voice rang out clear. "We stand for peace, not power, Lord Miren." He held his ground. "If you wish to fight, let it be fair." Miren sneered and lunged at John. The human captain sidestepped and raised his blade in a defensive block. Sparks flew as crystal met steel. John remembered Alara's training words. "Feel the flow." He relaxed his grip and let his blade guide Miren's strike away. Alara moved with grace beside John. She parried Miren's second attack, twisting her blade to knock the steel aside. Her violet hair caught the lantern light, and her eyes shone with courage. Together, John and Alara faced Miren's soldiers. The guests stepped back, cheering them on. Each time a soldier advanced, John or Alara met them with calm skill. John's training on Earth had taught him precision. Alara's Virelian dance had taught him fluid motion. Within moments, Miren found himself alone and disarmed. He stared at John's blade at his throat. His face went pale. You, you fight like a true warrior, he stammered. Alara lowered her blade. Lay down your weapon, Lord Miren, she commanded. Your anger endangers us all. Miren dropped his blade. Silence followed. The guards seized the remaining soldiers, binding them gently. The crowd held its breath. Queen Sorella stepped forward, her silver gown trailing behind her. She placed a hand on John's shoulder. You have shown strength and honor, she declared. You fight for peace, not conquest. John bowed to the queen, then to Alara. Alara's smile was bright and proud. The crowd erupted in cheers, ringing out across the courtyard. As the last light of sunset faded, lanterns blazed to life. Guests lifted cups in a toast to John and Alara. John felt Alara's hand slide into his. He squeezed it gently, sharing her joy. In that moment, he knew their bond had been forged not only in words but in the heart of battle. Together, they had protected peace and shown two worlds how a human and an alien princess could stand as one. The celebration continued deep into the night. Lanterns swayed in the gentle breeze as music drifted across the courtyard. Captain John Hale and Princess Alara shared smiles and stories with Virilian nobles and visiting Earth dignitaries. Yet amidst the joy, John noticed Alara's thoughtful gaze as she watched the gathered crowd. Alara leaned close. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly. "Our peoples are learning to trust each other." John nodded. "I do. They see what we did together. They see strength in unity." A small group of council elders approached, led by Elder Sarin. Her silver-trimmed robes caught the lantern light. She addressed Alara first. "Your courage has saved Virilia's honor, Princess." Then she turned to John. "Earth's captain, you have proven your loyalty. Virilia thanks you." Alara's eyes shone with pride and relief. She offered John a delicate crystal goblet filled with sweet nectar. John accepted it with a bow. He raised the goblet in salute to Alara and Elder Sarin. As they drank, a hush fell. Queen Sorella stepped onto a low platform. Her presence commanded respect, but her smile was warm. "Tonight, we have witnessed true partnership," she announced. A human and a Virilian princess stood together against fear and betrayal. "Let this bond guide our futures." The crowd cheered, and music swelled once more. John and Alara joined the dance, their steps in time with the rhythm. Though their movements were simple, their unity spoke louder than any ornate dance. Hands clasped, they moved with easy grace, two souls sharing a single heartbeat. After the dance, they retreated to a quieter terrace overlooking the palace gardens. Moonlight turned the marble balustrade silver. Alara sat on a carved bench, and John joined her, still wearing his ceremonial tunic. Alara studied him. "John, you have seen my world's beauty and its dangers. What do you understand now that you did not before?" John looked at the misty gardens. "I understand that peace is fragile," he said. "It needs brave hearts to protect it and open minds to nurture it." He turned to Alara. "I have learned that true strength comes from caring for others, not from weapons alone." Alara smiled and touched his hand. "And I have learned that trust can cross any star. Your world's kindness and honesty show me new ways to lead." They sat in silence, letting their words sink in. Around them, the palace slept peacefully. John felt a gentle warmth spread through him. In simple moments like these, their bond grew stronger than any ceremony. Alara rose and offered her hand. "Come, Captain. Let us walk among the blooms." She led him back through the gardens, where moonflowers opened wide like pale lanterns. As they walked, John thought of Earth's forests under starlight, and Alara thought of Virilia's crystal towers shimmering at dawn. Two worlds, once distant, now shared a path forward. And in their hearts, John and Alara carried the promise of unity, a promise that would guide Earth and Virilia into a future of peace and understanding. Dawn broke over Virilia in soft hues of rose and gold. Captain John Hale stood on the palace balcony beside Princess Alara. Below them, the courtyard bustled with activity. Couriers prepared their winged craft, and diplomats gathered documents for departure. Today marked the official signing of the Earth-Virelia alliance. John turned to Alara. Her violet eyes glowed with quiet joy. She wore a simple gown of pale blue that matched the sky. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. Alara smiled and slipped her hand into his. "With you by my side, I am ready for anything." They walked together down the grand staircase. Courtiers bowed, and the palace guards presented arms. John felt pride in his stride. He had come to Virelia as a lowman boy. Now he stood as a true partner to a princess and a bridge between two worlds. In the council chamber, Queen Sorella sat at the head of a long table draped in white silk. Across from her sat Earth's ambassador, a tall woman in a dark suit. Between them lay two scrolls, one bearing Earth's seal, the other Virelia's crystal emblem. Alara and John stepped forward. The queen spoke first. "Let these scrolls bind our peoples in friendship, cooperation, and peace," she said. Her voice echoed with authority and warmth. The Earth ambassador unrolled the first scroll. On behalf of Earth, she read, "We pledge support for Virelia's prosperity and vow to uphold galactic harmony." Next, Alara took the Virelian scroll. In her clear, melodic voice, she recited, "On behalf of Virelia, we welcome Earth as an equal partner. Together, we shall protect life and share knowledge." John gently guided Alara's hand as she affixed her crystal seal. Then he placed Earth's seal beside it. The chamber filled with soft light as the seals activated ancient magic engraved in the table, a sign that the bond was real and lasting. Cheers erupted, courtiers clapped, and guards sounded their horns. Outside, winged craft lifted into the sky, carrying messages of hope to distant stars. John and Alara embraced, feeling the weight of history shift beneath their feet. After the ceremony, the queen approached them. She placed a gentle hand on each of their shoulders. "You have shown that two hearts, no matter how different, can unite in purpose," she said. "May your partnership guide our worlds to a brighter tomorrow." Alara bowed her head and looked at John. "Thank you for choosing me, John," she whispered. John smiled and kissed her hand. "Thank you for choosing me, Alara." His voice was soft, but all who stood nearby heard the promise in his words. Later, as the sun climbed higher, John prepared to return to his ship. Alara stood at the palace gate, dressed in a flowing robe of silver and white. She held a small crystal pendant. Inside, a tiny shard of Earth's blue sky hovered like a star. "It is for you," she said, placing the pendant around John's neck, "to remind you of your promise and our bond." John touched the pendant gently. "I will wear it always," he said. He knelt and kissed Alara's hand once more. As he boarded his ship, Alara waved, her smile both proud and wistful. The engines hummed, and the craft lifted into the sky. John looked down at the palace, his heart full of hope. Two worlds had taken a bold step forward. Through trust, courage, and simple words from two souls, Earth and Virelia stood united. And as the ship soared among the stars, John carried with him the promise of a new alliance, one built on friendship, respect, and the bond between a human and an excited alien princess.